And the reason why it's called BaChatzotzrot, obviously, is because it's based on this pasuk in Tehillim, BaChatzotzrot v'kol shofar hari'u lifnei. That means with the trumpets and the sound of the shofar, so you cry out, you shout out before Hashem, the King. So what's Rabbi Nachman going to teach us about this? We shall see. Ki tzarich kol adam lomar. Well, you know what? This Torah is going to teach us a lot about happiness and joy of the heart, and you're going to see throughout the Torah that that's probably the focal point. That's probably the most important point of this Torah, is teaching us how to connect to Hashem's happiness and to experience Hashem's happiness in our heart. And at a certain point, you're going to see how he speaks about removing all of the blocks that we have in our heart. How do we remove the blocks in our heart? Because in order for our heart to be full of joy and happiness, it has to be clear from the resistance, from the blocks. And so how do you clear that out? So that's what he's going to speak about in the middle of the Torah. But that's probably the main theme of the Torah. So says Rabbi Nachman, Ki tzarich kol adam lomar, every person must say that the world was created for my sake, only for my sake, meaning that a person needs to take responsibility for the world. If the world is created for your sake, for you, then you must take responsibility to rectify the world. That whatever you do should help increase the quality of life, the quality of life in this world for everyone, spiritually and physically.
Doesn't it also mean, though, that in saying the world was created for me, that everything that occurs from my experience is a communication from Hashem to me?
Definitely, yes.
In my own way, and so that there are infinite permutations where every human being, the world was created for every human being, and those messages are also being conveyed to every other human being in their own way.
Yeah, well, meaning that a person should not say, something happened in Asia or whatever, somewhere else in the world, it doesn't concern me. No, everything concerns you. Everything that you hear, everything that enters your perception is connected to you. And because everything it's all under your power, you have the control and you have the power to affect change and to elevate and fix the whole world. And if you were living using that power in the best way possible, then you wouldn't know of any difficulty, any troubles, any challenges, any pain, and any suffering. So yes, that's also included in this rule, in this perspective, in this understanding, in this belief that the Gemara and Sanhedrin teaches us. So Rabbi Nachman it says like this. He says, therefore, since the whole world was created for my sake, therefore, I must always pay attention and consider different ways of making the world a better place. And I need to pay attention and find ways of filling the void that people have in their lives, filling all of the lacks, all the lacking, all the deficiencies that people are experiencing in their lives, spiritually and physically, and to find a way to help all of those people, and to pray for them. Right, the main way is to pray for them, and this is such an important part of avoda. It's not just another side thing. This is one of the most important points of prayer. And this would actually change a person's whole prayer. Not just a person's whole prayer, it will change a person's whole life. His whole spiritual energy, as they call it, the spiritual frequency that you're at, the spiritual vibration that you're at, will be elevated exponentially and shifted to a tremendously elevated point once a person makes this shift and starts praying for other people, starts praying for the world in general, and starts praying for other people personally, and thinking about the people around you, and thinking about people that you know of, and what they're going through, and what they're suffering spiritually and physically, and praying for each one of these people. And if a person prayed, let's say a person spends 10 minutes praying his personal prayer a day, and let's say 9 minutes and 55 seconds of those 10 minutes he spent praying for all of these other people and for the world in general, and then for the last couple of seconds he prayed for himself, not only has he not lost out time and quality prayer for himself, but those few seconds that he prayed for himself after praying for all of these other people are more powerful than if he had prayed for himself for many, many hours consistently, consecutively. Because there's a shift in consciousness, says Rabbi Nachman in another Torah, that happens when a person prays for other people. There's a certain self-nullification, and that self-nullification means that the person is connected to the source of all Shefa, to the source where all of this blessing is coming from. And so then those few seconds of praying for yourself, you've circumvented, you've gone through a shortcut to the source of the Shefa. And so now whatever few seconds of prayer that you pray for yourself is more powerful than if you had prayed for yourself for many, many hours. So this is and this not only changes the power of your prayer, all of your avodat Hashem, every mitzvah that you did is more powerful and greater when a person spends time every day thinking of the problems and difficulties that other people are suffering and praying for those people to have the salvation that they need spiritually and physically. So this is tremendous. And if a person can also added to this, not limited to, but added to this, person can find names of the people that that are suffering, that he knows of, that are, everybody is suffering. Everybody in this physical world on some level has some difficulty that they're going through physically or spiritually, or both, usually both. And so if you can find their names and write them down, and then right next to each one of these names what it is that you want to pray for, and then this can be a meditation. And this is a tremendously powerful meditation for tremendous segula, for bringing tremendous salvation and kindness and chesed in a revealed way for yourself, and for changing all of your avodat Hashem. So this is tremendously powerful, and that's what Rabbi Nachman is starting off this Torah speaking about. He says that this comes from an understanding, a presumption that is taught in the Gemara, that the whole world was created for my sake, and therefore I need to see myself as in control and having the power to elevate and fix and rectify the whole world. If the whole world was created for my sake, then any deficiency that is found in the world on any level can be rectified by me. I have the power. I have that control to fix it. Obviously, it's not from the ego. It's something that it's the superconscious, it's the neshama within us. But this is part of me. This is the godliness within me, has that power. And therefore, when I put my intention and my prayers in that direction, then I can see tremendous results of these benefits of this elevation happening. So now says Rabbi Nachman that we've established the importance of praying for others and praying for the world, and your power to affect change on every level through your prayers and through your avodah. So now you should know, says Rabbi Nachman, that there are two types of prayer. When you're praying for the world, there are two different forms of prayer. קודם גזר דין מתפללים כסדר התפילה, ואין צריך להלביש התפילה, אבל לאחר גזר דין צריך להלביש התפילה, כדי שלא יבינו המלאכים העומדים לשמאל ולא יקטרגו, כמו שכתוב בגזירת עירין פתגמין. He says there are prayers that you pray before the decree was stamped, before the decree was issued, before it was engraved, before it was finalized. Before that decree was finalized, there's one type of prayer that you pray, and then there's a different form of prayer that you need to pray once the decree was finalized, so that the angels that are from the side of Gevurah, the angels from the side of judgment, should not try to sabotage your efforts of rectifying and healing and fixing the world. Right? Because if there's a decree upon the world that has been finalized, a judgment, a difficult, harsh decree, and God forbid, if it was finalized, so then there are these angels on the side of judgment that want to make sure that that decree is manifested. And if you're going to go ahead and start praying for the benefit and for the good and for the kindness in the world and the goodness to be revealed, then these angels could come and sabotage that from being manifested. Your efforts to rectify the world, they try to sabotage it so that from being manifested. So then you have to pray in a different form, so that they shouldn't recognize that you're trying to fix the world, and they shouldn't recognize that you're trying to do something that is opposite of that difficult, harsh decree. And so he he explains this. He brings us proof to this. Bigzerat irin pitgamin, that the verdict was decreed, was finalized by these destroying angels. So that's the proof to the fact that there are these destroying angels that want to see that harsh decree finalized, manifested. Meaning that after the decree was issued, and this is the continuation of that same pasuk, and that's where he gets this idea that once the decree was finalized, so the request of the holy, the request of those holy, the people that anyone that is doing any effort in any way in prayer and blessing in order to help and bring revealed kindness to the world and to the people around him and to all of Am Yisrael, is called a holy one. And so these holy people, the pasuk says, their request is through a ma'amar. When the decree is finalized, the pasuk is telling us, explains Rabbi Nachman, that their request is through a ma'amar. Ma'amar is like a almost like, not a metaphor, but it's like when a person has something, a whole story or something like that, something that a person would speak about. Let me find a better translation for that.
I thought a ma'amar was like a shift of a group of people. Like, I mean, the Kohanim were set up in ma'amars, weren't they? Right. Isn't that what it was called?
I don't know what you're referring to. Maybe there's a different maybe there's a different spelling of that word.
Maybe. I really thought it was ma'amar. Huh. Okay.
Mishmar, maybe.
Mishmar. There you go.
Mishmarot. Mishmarot of the Keuna.
That's it.
So a ma'amar is like a saying. It's like there must be a better English word than saying. It's not just a saying. Let's see here.
Like an idiom?
A ma'amar is a aphorism. Let's see. A proverb.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. Anyways, the point is, it's like through a story, something that you would say over, and through that in that, while they're speaking that, they will enclose or hide within it, thread within it, the prayer that they're praying. And so then, when it goes up, when it is revealed and elevated in the spiritual realm, this thing that the person says, because everything the person says has an effect on all of the dimensions and all of the spiritual worlds as well. And then these angels, this from the side of judgment, they see it, and they don't see any prayer here. All they see is the outside, right? They see things from the outside. Hashem sees things from the inside. And so then it can get by them and cause that beneficial effect, that kindness to be revealed and that decree to be annulled.
So there are two things then. Number one, how do we even recognize when the decree has already been determined?
That's exactly what Rabbi Nachman is going to, that's the next thing he's going to speak about. He says, so how do I know that? How do I know before or after the decree? And it's not easy to know. You're going to see in this Torah, it's complex. Person has to have a very high level of Ruach HaKodesh to know that. But that being said, he's going to teach us the mechanisms involved. It's a tremendous spiritual sensitivity that a person needs to be able to know based on what he's going to tell us, whether it's before the decree, after the decree. But there's a reason why he teaches it this way. All these mechanisms are also, it's very helpful to us for us to know these rules and everything that's involved. And maybe one day, Bezrat Hashem, we'll have that level of Ruach HaKodesh and that spiritual sensitivity to know these things clearly through the way he speaks about it in this Torah. But that's exactly the next point here. What?
Will he also go through an example of a mamar?
Sorry? What do you mean?
Also go through an example of a mamar?
Oh, can we go through an example of a mamar?
Will he in the Torah?
Oh, will he? No. But this is something that in the stories of Rabbi Nachman, you see that he did a lot. And he speaks about this idea, this type of avodah a lot. He says, he did this a lot, by the way. You know, when a person, sometimes you go to a class, a Torah class, and the Torah class is given linear. It's like a whole, fact A and fact B and the question and the answer. It's all very linear. And then sometimes you go to a class and you're sitting in a class, a Torah class, and it almost sounds like he's telling stories, a lot of metaphors, and just the way he's saying it over, it's like very circular, and all of these stories coming up. And then the idea that he wants to give over is threaded within that. And a lot of presumptions, you kind of say one thing, but the person understands deeper ideas from just more about the subtext, the between the lines, than actual what is being said. And so that is like a sikha, that's a mamar. That's what the Rabbi Nachman did a lot. He says it's tremendously powerful, because sometimes there's some people that if you would give them a class, a Torah, something in Torah, a halacha or whatever, and you present it in a linear fashion, they would not accept it. It would be bitter to them. They would not want to even listen, but when you give it over with metaphors, and it sounds to them as if you're speaking about mundane, maybe business transactions and something in the news, but the subtext and the between the lines that is being given over, the ideas that are threaded within that story, is Torah. And then the person can be listening, person who's far from Torah can be listening, and it's tremendously interesting to them, intriguing. This conversation is tremendously intriguing, and there's all this Torah that is being downloaded and accepted by them, and they don't even realize it. So this is the idea that is the basic idea of what is going on by also when you enclose, the way he says it, enclose the prayer in a mimer. So basically you're not saying, oh, please Hashem, help and take care of whatever, and remove this deficiency and help me, give me a salvation for this idea. You're basically speaking to Hashem or just speaking in general, and the intention is that you are sending this prayer and a request for salvation in this area for yourself or for others, and then because that's your intention, and so many times you'll find that it is naturally, easily threaded within that conversation.